Welcome to the Breakdown, everybody. This is Aaron Barker broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines, asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible study and sent to therapy. Thank you all so very much for the opportunity to be in your vehicle, office, residence, warehouse, outhouse, henhouse, farmhouse, or doghouse, wherever it is you may be listening to the Breakdown today. Got a fantastic show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about Kanye West's appearance on Tucker Carlson. We'll also be talking about some weird things happening in the employment sector and covering bad theology just a little bit later. You can be a part of the program as well if you head on over to breakdradio.com. Click on the microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. It is there where you will be able to leave a sound off and we'll play it. And if we don't like it, well, we'll play it anyway because that's how desperate we are for additional content. So be sure to leave that over there and again, click on that microphone. We'll play it for you and it's unedited. So be gentle, Jackhole Nation, when I go to play that for you. And don't get me kicked off the airwaves. Brian, how are you doing this morning, sir?
Man, I am blessed and highly favored, brother. It's a great day to be alive.
That was such a typical Pentecostal answer. I'm blessed and highly favored.
Well, I've been told that I'm not that bad for a Pentecostal.
I'm not. By yourself or by other people?
By other people. So we'll just leave it alone.
Good deal. Also, we have a very special guest. For those of you who are watching on Facebook or on Twitter right now, we have a listener and at times a host on some radio shows over here on Mojo 50. Erica Sauer, she's a recovering Catholic, a Boston native, and a Midwest panacea, fighting to keep her sense of humor in an apoplectic world. Yes, I did it. I pronounced it right.
I try to give you as many, like 3-4 syllable words as possible.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show, Erica. How you doing this morning?
I'm good.
School words.
When I first saw that, when you sent that over to me, I was like, apologetic. What? What's that? And then I had to stop. Apoplectic, and I had to read it very slowly. So at least it's not like Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, I got that one right too. I practiced that one.
Nice. You cleaned that one up just perfectly, man.
I stared at that one. I had just trying to figure out how to pronounce it before we covered that on the.
Just don't overthink it. Then you're good.
I think that's the secret. You can't overthink things, and I do. I'm clicking on so many screens over here, and because I don't have a quality producer with me, and I'm just like. I'm all over the place. I'm watching the clock and all that. Sometimes my mind is going and my mind is racing. I just need to chill. I just need to let go and let go.
Just so you know, he said you're not a quality producer. I mean, I know you're not producing, but just okay. For the record, you said you have one with them.
I don't know if I've still got it or not. Let me see if I can find it. But I used to have it changed on my breakdown screen where it says, oh, there it is. So it says Brian, the producer at the bottom there.
Oh yeah, you still have that?
Producer. I used to. So a lot of times, if you've ever watched some of the older stuff, I have in my Northern Kentucky home. I actually have a recording studio. So we actually set up and did the show
in my Northern Kentucky home. In my home in Northern Kentucky, when I go on the weekends.
I'm wealthy enough that I rent several properties.
My weekends away is what I do in my home in Northern Kentucky.
In my old Kentucky home.
In my old Kentucky home, yes.
I mean, I'm not sure who actually would spend their money buying a home in Northern Kentucky like it's some kind of, relaxing getaway. Like, oh, I'm in Northern Kentucky, just this side of the Ohio River in Ludlow.
Hey,
I've gone to the woods. We've gone to the woods.
Yes, I miss my Northern Kentucky home, so you all hush.
That's not the way the song goes. It's my old Kentucky home, not my Northern Kentucky home.
Well, I changed the words, so leave me alone.
Well, the sun shines bright in my Northern Kentucky Villa Hills. Home.
No, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it fits. I don't think it fits.
That does not work at all.
Oh, so you're up here in your Northern Kentucky getaway, Brian. You have a studio.
So I have this beautiful studio set up at home, and we worked it really well for almost a year. But and I was his producer, and then he fired me. So
that was it. That was your story.
That was my story.
You just wanted to say I have a beautiful studio in my second home in Northern Kentucky.
Old Kentucky home.
In my old Kentucky home. That's right. Yeah. I love the accents, guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we don't sound like that in Kentucky. Like, if you come up to Northern Kentucky, you're like, I got my waking home down in Paducah.
Yeah, that's more like, that guy down there, he's got that studio, thinks he's all special.
I got down in my yonder home. I got my studio in the back with the microphone. I sing into a can every now and then.
So just so you all know, Rusty Lugnut puts on there that the show looks much better this morning. So I'm thinking that's a throw out to Erica, because I know I don't look much better. And well, Aaron, there's not much hope.
It's the pumpkin.
I can't believe it.
It's the flashing pumpkin on my screen.
It's the flashing pumpkin. That is
the flashing
cool.
pumpkin.
I love that. That's really awesome.
He probably just got up. This is all just a marketing ploy, Erica, just to see if we can pull more listeners because you're on the show. That's all it is. I mean, and of course we like you too.
They're just watching to see how badly I could possibly screw up for you guys. So,
hey, Aaron, it's our new campaign. She is the softer side of the breakdown.
Oh my goodness, that is disclaimer. Someone put one out there, because if I'm the softer side, we are in trouble.
She's like, I ain't soft. What are you talking about, redneck?
I mean, I'm normally in position when people are saying, leave your Boston on this one. Please don't bring the Boston. Bring some Indiana. That's how you should handle this.
Well, there is like now that you say that, there is such a difference in the way that the Northeast folks act and the way that the Midwesterners are, and even down south. Like when you start to even just below the Kentucky line, where you get into Tennessee and all that, there's a huge difference in the way people talk, not just your accent, but they're like, yes ma'am, yes sir, or they're talking just to pass the time and discuss. People in the Northeast are just like, yeah, I'm going to get done as quickly as I can and then move on. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. Like you all are like, bam, let's do this. I don't want to make small talk.
When I first moved here, I almost got in a fight. I'm walking in the streets of Indianapolis, not so much up here because there's a lot more Chicago influence and they don't care about each other. But down in Indy, they will, people make eye contact with you on the street in the city. They say, hey, you're like, whoa, hey.
What do you want?
Yeah, why
don't talk
why
to me.
Why are you talking to me?
Yes, yes.
I'm going to stab you with my cockies.
Have you seen the video, guys, where it's a Twitter clip, or maybe it's one of those reels on Facebook. I used to have it changed on. He's in New York, and he's like, I'm walking here, and this lady stops and goes, we don't talk like that. then she walks away. She goes, he's like, forget about it. And she beats the crap out of him right there on the screen.
It's very different.
So when did you move down to Indiana? Because for some reason I was thinking you lived in Texas.
No, I moved to Indiana in the late 90s.
Okay.
Shortly after college and grad school, then I moved to Indiana because my parents moved there. Like my dad was getting ready to retire, and there was some sort of, hey, if you come here and work for another 2 years, we'll sweeten the deal. And my mom, who was leaving Boston for the first time in 28 years, she was like, you're not doing anything of significance. I think you should come here.
Gee, thanks.
Well, she was right. I mean, I had just finished grad school. I didn't really know where I was going to start working yet. I still had to do my clinical certifications, and I was dragging my feet. I was teaching surfing down in Florida. She was like, you're not really doing anything of significance. You could come be with me. I'm not going to know anybody. And then I met my husband in Indianapolis at that point. So I ended up being here for the duration.
There was a time when I felt like I was a moderately intelligent person, but then you come on the show and you're like, after college, after grad school, speech pathologist, teaching surfing in Florida. And I'm like, I'm a dummy. Like I'm such a hack. I'm like, I done graduated high school. You do that here, and it's a big deal, Like
I had a very type A personality family, all of them. It's kind of annoying, actually. And I'm the youngest of 4 brothers, so I had a candle to carry. I was like, okay, I can't be the one that just does nothing.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah, well,
so the youngest of 4 brothers, you had to feel extremely protected and probably overprotected at times.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's only one of them in high school at the time that I was in high school. The others were in college by the time I hit high school. So they were always there, though. I mean, all the time, from kindergarten to forever. I thought, oh God, this is never going to work out. But I do think I benefited a lot from being the only girl in the family where they were like, no, this is how you do this. This is how you handle this. This is how you need to look at this. Don't be all mushy. I'm not a very good. I'm not a very good girl. That's
Nice.
probably the qualification there. Empathy is not my strong point.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, that's
I try.
there we
I
go.
work on it though. I'm aware of it being not my strong point. I do try.
So you're like
Being
focused. You're like,
self-aware is important.
yeah, you're like, okay, don't be a douchebag in this scenario. Don't be a
Correct.
dude. Be a chick. How can I?
Right.
That's so stereotypical right there. How can I be more of a lady?
Right. Like I send emails. My dad, I was at my parents' house not too long ago. I'm trying to write this email for work. And I'm like, Dad, can you take a look at this? Right. I mean, you're 80. If you're going to tell me I shouldn't say that. And his response was, take the she-mail out of your email and then you can send it.
Oh no!
Wow.
Yeah.
Your dad told you
So
that?
that's my influence. I mean, right.
Well, it's funny because I've actually worked with women before. I mean, like, oh my gosh, I actually worked with a woman too. That's crazy. I worked with a woman that was like, I'm like one of the guys. I'm like one of the guys. Because her industries that she'd worked in before she'd gone to. She's like, oh, I'm just like one of the guys. But then you say something and she gets offended, and you're like, wait, I thought you're one of the guys, because if you're offended by that, you're not a guy. You can't say you're gonna act. You can't say that. So.
I say that, but my problem is then I say things and they're like, "Whoa, God, dang!" I'm like, "I told you I was one of the guys."
It's like, yeah, I'm probably raising my daughters too much like boys in that sense. Not that they chase girls or anything like that, but the fact that there are some jokes they make, and I look at them and I'm like, dear gosh, why can't you be more like your mom and not say that about that person? Yesterday.
I think you're wrong. I think you're doing it right. I think it's a very well-rounded situation.
I don't know if you're allowed to say this on radio, especially on Christian radio or not, but so my wife's out of town. This whole week's been nuts because my wife made a last-minute trip to go with her parents to go to Pennsylvania because they have we have a home in Pennsylvania.
Listen at you now. Okay, so you got a home in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's up in Pennsylvania, but
I'm in the same state as my other home. Okay.
Yeah, you were trying to flex on Northern Kentucky second homes, and I'm like, well, I actually have it's not my home. I don't own it. It's in the family. It's been passed down, but
now he's got heirloom estate.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she took a last minute trip up there. And to help her mom travel because her mom needs assistance while she's traveling, and her dad and all that. So she left me here to take care of the kids. So all week I've been driving my daughter to college. She does dual enrollment at a college, Asbury College or university. So I've been taking her down there, which is about an hour and a half trip. I went down Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And my wife normally does it. So it's a 3-hour round trip. Plus you're down there at like 10:30 in the morning, and we don't get back till 5 o'clock. But anyway, so I'm with my daughter all this time this week. I work with her as well because she works with me. And last night we stopped and she needed to buy some shampoo and conditioner, and she's going to get her some candy. So I'm like, all right, well, you go into the store because I'm not going to go in. And she said something else, and then she looks at me. She's like, and I was like, well, wait a second. I want to ask you something. She's like, what? I got to take a piss. And I'm like, what did you just say? You're a girl. You're not allowed to say that. Why would you say that? But evidently she had, at least she didn't be like, oh, I got to go to the head and take a piss, Dad. Come on. Oh my gosh, kid.
And
yeah.
The softer side of the Barker clan. There you go.
Well, she spent, there was another story here. I guess we could probably get to this. Like, I was going to cover this a little later. But here, there were these judges that were on let me pull it up here real quick so I don't screw everything up. I got to find it. There were a couple of judges in 2019 that were it was actually in Indianapolis, I think, Erica. So they were outside of a White Castle, and they had been bar hopping because they were in town for some type of judge conference or something like that. And they were hanging out in this parking lot. And this car drives by. And when the car drives by, there's some type of verbal altercation back and forth. And then all of a sudden, somebody flips the bird. The car then pulls into the parking lot. I'm going to pull the video up here. The car pulls into the parking lot. And then what ensues is like this brawl that lasts for several minutes. And while they're fighting, while they're going on, one of the guys that's like getting beat down, like here it is. I'll try to fast forward. But while they're fighting, one of the dudes pulls out a gun and shoots two of these judges. Like I'll just show a little bit of clip here. So here they are walking up, and then it just ensues into this brawl all over the parking lot. So it ends up, like I was saying, a couple of guys are shot. A couple of these judges are shot, and you can just see them getting the guy in the red is, I think, the perpetrator, one of the judges, and they're just getting beat down. Well, as I was reading through this, I found out that what started this was one of the judges, I think, flipped off one of these dudes in a car. Like, you could see it. They're just getting their faces pounded here. And these guys over here are like rolling around. Looks like they're making out in the black and the and then this truck here, that like this car rolls up and almost runs over one of these dudes as he falls towards the SUV. But you know, they're blah, 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 back and forth. Well, all of a sudden, this guy in the white that's on the ground is, you know, kind of being subdued. And all of a sudden, he jumps up here, and you'll see, right here's where it happens. He jumps up and shoots the guy in the red, and then shoots the other guy that's wearing, like, the vest. And what caused all of this was one of the judges flipped off the guy in the car. And I mean, like, you think about that, like the road rage, like, you know, oh, you dissed me. Because, you know, Indy has all that respect up there, Erica. It was like, oh, you dissed me.
I mean, I will tell you, I know for sure. And, you know, you could probably ask Watson. He is way closer to it than I am. But Indy's definitely not used to be like a walking city. You could walk around downtown Indy. It was cool. And they have giant areas of commerce that you could get to inside and outside. So even in the wintertime, it was made to be a walking sort of downtown area. It's not safe. It's not safe anymore. It's not, and it used to only be like, you knew, don't hang out by the airport. Like, that's the bad side of town. Or if you went down towards the track where the 500 is, sometimes that wasn't the safest, but that's crazy. What makes you, okay. All right. What makes you, first of all, feel like you can just randomly flip off someone just because? Do you not know that? Yeah. Unless you're ready to fight, right?
Unless you're ready to fight, that's exactly right. Yep.
And I don't know what was said, but that you were ready to fight. Okay, so first of all, you're a judge and you're out drinking to the point where you're going to randomly flip off some stranger. Like, have you not seen this in the courtroom?
Yeah.
You know, is this not something you're familiar with? And then to think that you're going to shoot somebody over that, because also you should not pull your weapon unless you are absolutely prepared to take a life. And what about that fight made that your end decision?
He got dissed. He got dissed, Erica. He's got to stand up for his respect and self-respect.
Oh, well, now your life is over for your self-respect.
No,
have fun.
You say that, by the way, and the reason I brought that story up was because so we're down. My daughter is learning to drive. She's got her temps right now, and whatever. It's the first stage in Kentucky. You have to get like your first stage, and then you drive for so many hours in the daytime and the nighttime, and then you get your second phase after you go take your test, and it's called your intermediates. And then I don't know what happens after that. It was different from when I was a kid, and it was different from when my parents were growing up too. But my mom's from Indiana, by the way, Erica. But what was funny was we were driving the other day, and usually I'm actually relatively calm when I drive with her. I'm not bragging. I try to stay calm, because if she gets freaked out, it's the last thing you need, a new driver freaking out. So we're down in Lexington, which is typically, you know, an okay place to drive. And my daughter has to go across.
Wait. Lexington is an okay place to drive?
I was going to let that go.
Yeah,
you can't let that go. You cannot let that go.
You don't think Lexington's an okay place to drive?
Oh, dear God, no.
Oh, it's vicious.
Lexington is almost worse than Michigan.
It's vicious.
As a state.
Are you serious? I've not had that experience down there. Like driving into Ohio for me, like across the bridge, into Ohio. That for me is absolutely horrendous. Anywhere over in Ohio, like
you finish your story, and then I've got a great story about Lexington drivers. Go ahead.
So, and I appreciate the fact that Erica brought up the whole flipping the thing off, flipping the bird, because so we're going across. So my daughter has to go across several lanes of traffic, and she had the right of way. She had her turn signal on, and she was moving across traffic, and some young lady, I'll call her that, swerved around my daughter and cut us off. And we're sitting there. We can't go anywhere. We're in oncoming traffic, and this is a side road, so we're pulling out of a parking lot where we had switched driving, and this woman was blocking us. Well, then she proceeded to look in her mirror and yell at us. Now, on the back of my daughter's car, there's a big reflective bumper sticker that says, "Please be patient, student driver." When we first started with that, people were okay. Now they're just back to the regular douchebaggery. Well, this woman, knowing she's a student driver, pulls around her like that and then proceeds to yell at us, like, in her mirror. And I'm like, and I put my hands up. I'm like, what are you doing? You pulled up, like she can hear me. And then she starts with this whole feminazi growl looking on her face. And then all of a sudden, I haven't done this in I don't know how long, but in the presence of my precious undefiled daughter, I just went bonk and just dropped the bird. Like, and it was straight out, like in the windshield, like right there.
Oh, no.
And my daughter was like, "Dad." And I'm like, "What? She should have done that." And it was just.
Have you prayed for forgiveness, Aaron? Honestly.
I tell you what,
but not how you spread the gospel of Christ.
Thanks, Brian.
I cannot for 1 second even take the high road on this one, because someone that is watching this right now will know, has been in Zoom with me while I've been driving, will absolutely call me out. I am the worst. I'm the worst. I'm not just rude. It probably is one of the reasons I will be like, I could be standing at the gates talking to St. Peter and he's going to be like, "Listen, we did everything we could, but this whole driving situation it's unredeemable. It's unredeemable.
The
you gotta
465
go.
loop is what's going to damn you."
Yes, it's absolutely bad. But I do know that regardless of what my mouth is saying in the car, I try to keep my hands on the wheel, because that can get you into very serious trouble.
Yeah.
I carry, so it's not a good idea to get into an intense situation while you're driving. And I think
another reason why we like you, Erica, is that you were pistol packing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my mom was from Louisiana, so I grew up with there were always guns around. People were hunting, people were shooting. It was like a fun pigs, deer.
Nice.
I have a cousin who's actually in a wheelchair. He's a paraplegic, had an accident in a swimming pool when we were teenagers, but he's been Sportsman of the Year, like handicap Sportsman of the Year several times. He does all kinds of great stuff. I'll send you a link to his stuff that he does. But yeah, there's always been guns, smart use, like it was just never a thing that wasn't around. So I was never uncomfortable with it. And now I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why you would. It doesn't have to be a gun, but I don't know why you wouldn't learn how to protect yourself.
Yeah, well, you think about that, like what you had said there. In this day and age, like when I did that, like I apologize to all of our Christian listeners who may have very sensitive ears. But when I did that, when I flipped her off, immediately I'm thinking this could be some psycho crazy nutbag chick that jumps out of her car with a weapon of some sort and comes after me and comes after my girl. And I'm like, I have to, because I don't normally get like that. I'm like you, Erica, so I'm like growling under my breath. I'm getting angry, but it's like, what happens if you say the wrong thing or make the wrong gesture to the wrong person and they follow you home? And or they follow you to the store or something like that. And that's what bothered me the most. I mean, the whole Christian Witness aside, I'll probably never see that girl again. But what if I would have done something that made that person pull over? And then this situation, like what happened in a White Castle parking lot,
Well, there was a situation that happened up right off Kyle's Lane.
You're going to have to leave that you're right on the break, Brian. I'm sorry, buddy. You do it weekly, but it's so perfect. All right, folks, stay with us. We're going to be talking to Erica Sauer and Brian Jackson here on The Breakdown when we get back from the break. Don't forget to go over to breakdradio.com, click on the microphone in the bottom right-hand corner, and leave your sound off. You can be on air as well. Soul!
Asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible studies and sent to therapy.
You're listening to The Breakdown. Hi, it's Doc Thompson for Matthew 25 Ministries. Matthew 25 Ministries is one of the few charities I'll actually endorse because I know them. I've worked with them, and I know almost all of the money that you donate goes to help people. Go to m25m.org, m25m.org.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. I was busy eating this delicious meal from preparewithmojo50.com. You look hungry. Do you want some? Of course you do. Get your own. You can go to preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. You can't have mine.
Welcome back to the Breakdown, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us during that break. Having a great time on the show this morning. We've got Erica Sauer with us, who's a listener to Mojo 50, and she's also been on other shows before, so this isn't a novel idea. Oh, gosh, why do I do that to myself on break?
Yes, it is.
What was that?
I said, yes, it is a novel idea. People are like, what are you doing?
It's fun. It's fun.
Oh, man, gosh, I don't know why I do that to myself. I hurry up during the breaks to get coffee and do all this other stuff. I'm just like, when I get back, I'm out of breath. Brian, your story about Kyle's Lane up here in your Northern Kentucky home. Please tell us about that while I catch my breath.
Okay, so
wait a second. Now, are you telling me that you drive on your own when you come to Northern Kentucky? You don't have a driver? Jeeves,
well,
please pull around
most
the.
Most of the time, my driver is not available. So,
Jeeves, I need you to pull around the 77 Caprice Classic, please. We're going to my home in Northern Kentucky this weekend.
Are you kidding me? I don't let anybody drive my truck.
77 Caprice Classic?
Yeah, right. You know,
it's the binge seats.
So
it's very nice. Red vinyl.
There was a
on the
road
inside.
rage incident that happened on 75, and they were in traffic coming up around Kyle's Lane, which is how you get down to Covington and into, obviously into Cincinnati. And they pulled over right at the exit there, right past Kyle's Lane. Okay.
Yeah.
And these guys were having a fight. And one of the guys, I guess the second, and we're going to say number 2, he was he parked his car in the back. He went back to his vehicle and he pulled out a shotgun. And he
I remember this story. Yeah.
Vehicle, and he aimed a shotgun at point blank at this guy's car. And the guy pulled out his pistol and shot the guy, dropped him.
Yeah, so person A aims the shotgun at person B. Person B whips out his sidearm and shoots person A. But here's the kicker.
So now the argument is, well, the shotgun wasn't loaded.
Exactly. The guy had a gun that wasn't loaded. And he walked up to the
guy who had a gun that was loaded.
I mean, the worst and last mistake of his life, points an unloaded weapon. Because the dude, number one rule of firearms, treat every weapon like it's loaded. You got a shotgun pointed at me, I have no clue.
Yeah, that's just irresponsible. That's the other side of don't draw your weapon if you're not prepared to take a life. Don't draw your weapon if you're not prepared to get shot at.
Well,
yeah, right.
Is and I've made this comment several times on the radio program. If you draw a weapon on me or somebody I care about, or if you break into, my home, or you break into my business or whatever, you have just forfeited your right to breathe. I mean, at that point, you did something stupid enough to make me draw my weapon. If I hit you, I'm going to kill you. That's the way it works.
Right.
I don't ever want to do that. I never have any intentions of doing that. But if I have to stand between me and the people that I love and you and being stupid and doing stuff that I don't want you to do, now we got a problem.
Yeah.
And they actually were going to prosecute this guy because he wasn't using like force because the shotgun wasn't loaded. It's like, how in the world did he know that?
He didn't know that it wasn't loaded.
I'm sorry. You point a shotgun at me. I'm going to draw.
It was drawn as a threat. Why would you think it's not loaded?
Exactly.
There's no time for that question.
Right.
You don't stop when someone points a weapon at you like that and say, "Hey man, is that loaded?" I just, I'm just checking.
Pardon me, sir. I'm only in town visiting my second home here in Northern Kentucky. May I ask you, if I may inquire so kindly, is that weapon loaded? Do I need to draw my firearm as well?
Exactly.
I told my daughter we were leaving. I was leaving the other night. She was going to be here by herself, and there were some people that were working close to the property, and I didn't feel too comfortable with her. So I was like, "Hey, look," I took her in, and I showed her where the gun was. I was like, here's what you do. Obviously, always point it. She knows all the rules. You point it away from you. Treat every weapon like it's loaded. I was like, if somebody starts to come into the house, I was like, here's the best strategic place so you have a view of the front door and the back door. I was like, the first phone call you make is 911 to let them know that somebody's intruding. I said, and if that door comes open, if that busts open, you point in the direction and you fire. I was like, it doesn't matter if you hit. It doesn't matter if whatever. I was like, you just shoot in that direction. I said, they will defecate and then they will leave. They'll run away if you don't hit them.
Right.
And, but it's like you're saying, Brian, you encroach my property. You come into my home unexpected like that, or you do some kind of stupid road rage incident and you pull a weapon, like you're making a threatening gesture at me. At this point, it's now a defensive gesture. I'm all about loving people, being kind, treating them gently, etc. Being gracious and all that stuff. But you draw down on me like that, and it's now me or you. And
none of that. Yeah. That's all out the window at that point. Grace, what your grace is at that point is you've been gracious enough to train and be responsible with your weapon. That's your grace at that point.
That's a great point. That's a great point. It's like, I exercised all the grace. Now I know, because had I not been exercising that grace, I would have shot your ass like 15 minutes ago, but I put up with your crap.
Right.
So I like that point. I took the grace. I took the time to be patient, and I'm not going to hurt you because you're not doing anything against my body or against my family. But that's the grace we have in that situation. But just be careful who you flip off, and be careful who you draw your unloaded weapons on.
Be careful who you
kind to each other and not worry about who we flip off, because we're not going to flip anybody off. Maybe.
Okay, and I will even tell you, it will come back on you too, because here, I have my vehicle right now has the windows are tinted, which I didn't do. I bought it. It was already like that. And it's not a thing. I'd never had a vehicle with tinted windows before. But then you get used to it and you realize, I can make that face if I want to, because no one can see me. But then you get back into a car that doesn't have tinted windows, and it's not good. It's not good. Just practice being nice all the time. Because even if you think people can't see you, you will forget that you are being watched, and it will come back on you.
That's exactly right. So you're going all thug life with the dark tinted windows. Is it a low rider with the 22-inch rims as well? And you got your thumping like regulators? Regulators!
Can you just picture that? I mean, that would be kind of funny, but yeah, I think for me, I think it is kind of a pimp and ride, but it's just a Honda Accord Sport.
He's pimping out a Honda Accord. There you go. Little race burner. There we go.
You got the lights underneath it and the wing on the back, and you're cruising around.
Oh my God, no, not like that. Not like that. It's definitely just somebody put the black rims on it and tinted the windows, and then decided that they didn't want it anymore. And my daughter wrecked my car that I gave her right after she got her license. So I really needed something quickly. And I was like, I like my Honda. I'll get another one. I don't care.
She's got the 4-foot spoiler on the back,
Oh my God. That would be horrible. I'm so not about my vehicle. It's probably bad. I probably should be more into it, but I really don't care.
I never was like that either.
I take care of my truck really bad. That's where I take care of the outside of my truck. The inside of my truck, not so much.
The inside of your truck looks much like your home, and the inside of your body. Okay.
Aaron.
All right, folks. BreakDRadio.com is where you can go to leave a sound off. We actually have a sound off here we're going to play. Oh, let's all just take a moment to pray, make the sign, all that stuff, and just pray that there are no vulgarities in this. Let's pray nobody is verbally flipping us off here. I have to pull my unloaded weapon and point it at the radio. Here we go.
No.
Hey, Watson here from Battle for Freedom.
Oh, it's
I just
Watson.
want to say...
okay, well, then we're good. This is going to be nice and clean.
This is right.
Like this is going to scrub
Yay.
the show to this point. Yeah. It's like all the flipping off, all the bad stuff we've talked about. Watson's going to come in there like Mr. Clean and just clean it up over here. Just make it look like that. Here we go.
Great job, Aaron and Bryan. Really appreciate what you guys are doing in the morning. And just a shout out to Erica.
Yeah.
The Hoosier Daddy. Just keep up the great work, everyone. And just going to sit back and enjoy my American Rye Roasters coffee as I hear you guys break things down.
That's right.
Peace.
Awesome, man.
Watson is great. I've actually been listening to Watson since he was on what was it called, that Lighthouse, or it was back before he was on MoJo, when he used to wear a do-rag and he had on his cool t-shirts and stuff, and he was doing Lanterns was what he was on, the Lanterns Network.
I've never heard of that network before.
Yeah, it was before he was on MoJo.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah, Rusty just dropped in there the lanterns, what he was asking. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, Rusty.
There you go. All right.
Somebody's taking care of us. I saw Mark. Mark jumped in there, and Mark is a good friend of mine here in Northern Kentucky. Or excuse me, in Paducah, Kentucky. Excuse me, Northern Kentucky. But now you got me thinking about my Northern Kentucky home here.
Oh, I have so many friends. I get them mixed up on geographical
I
locations.
get mixed up all the time.
I can't keep them straight. Gosh,
and
so
Mark,
it's
It's Wolfman Jackson, not Jack.
No, he was was that Wolfman Jack? Okay, okay.
So yes, I've got the whole going on. So yeah, we're good. That's what I need to do.
I don't think you sound like. I think you sound in your head different than what you sound like coming over the air, Brian. I mean, it might be the Zoom or not, but I mean, it's just, just don't get in your head that you're you're a sexy, attractive black man that has an amazing voice, and you're buttering up all the ladies out there.
I did drive a 1983 Lincoln Town Car once, so
he did bring up Barry White earlier. I'm not going to go with that.
He did.
I can't give him the Barry White.
No, he gets on there and he's like, "All right, guys, my Barry White voice is kicked in." Your Barry, what's Barry ain't white? What are you talking about? Like there's no Barry White voice going on there.
You know what? You don't need to touch.
That was his Barry is white voice.
What'd you say?
Barry is white voice.
Oh my God.
Hi guys, my name's Barry. I'm just an average white guy on the radio. Don't you like my voice? Right. It's really dark for radio.
I don't like when people gang up on me. This is not good. Let's keep moving on.
I love this. Erica, you'll have to come back. I'm enjoying this thoroughly.
Wow.
I don't know if I've talked about this on the air before, but there's other stories, of course. We're going to get to some kind of news stories today. But there's this radio station in the area called 700 WLW. I'm sure you've heard of it, Erica. It is, I'm going to name this show that Barry is white.
All right.
Sorry.
See, that's what happens though, man. Like if somebody puts themselves out there and they try to give themselves a nickname or they try to make themselves look bigger, then we're just like, no, that's not anything like what you sound. You don't sound like that at all, It's like me coming on and be like, I'm the Rush Limbaugh. No, you're not. You're the least listened to talk show in all of America.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep moving along. Keep moving along. That's okay. I'm done.
Barry is white.
That's how he got the not bad for a Pentecostal dating profile.
Swipe left.
I believe that was a moniker that you gave me, but thank you.
I did, but it was amazing. I mean, Aaron said it. I just could. It was like, that's it right there. That needs to be your dating profile.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
My name is Brian is white. I'm not bad for a Pentecostal.
I'm not bad for a Pentecostal.
And I have a really dark voice, too. Let's talk, ladies. Swipe right.
Gosh. You're all killing me. That's great. So I'm glad that some of my church folks are now all of a sudden I'm getting this squeaky voice like I'm going through puberty or something.
Yeah, you're like Peter Brady over there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to church.
Guys, I feel great.
Let's be perfect. You can sing the "It's Time for Change" song right there in church.
Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. Okay, so anyways,
man,
we get on to some regular other topic besides me.
Okay, let's leave Brian alone.
Okay, well, we'll move on for now, Brian.
Out in a minute.
We'll move on. All right, so now since we're talking about cars, I had this set up, but I had no idea where the show was going to go. But here's this. This was a couple of teenagers down in. Let's see. This was 3 teenagers stole a Maserati in Florida. They hit 123 miles an hour.
Jeez.
And then they lost control of the vehicle and crashed at 123 miles an hour. Yeah, it's insane to watch the video here. I want to pop it up because this is like this is the they also have the helicopter. The police helicopter talking about this. And honestly, the police, I think, handled this in a responsible way. But this is from the New York Post. Let's take a listen to what they have to say about this.
1 lane, driving normal, coming up to 21st Street.
So what it is just a black and white helicopter video here. And the Maserati's just driving normal speed.
Yeah, you're behind them.
And you see it's kind of slowing up, kind of slowing down. Like it's almost wants the police to catch up with it. You got 2 cruisers that are coming up. Next to it, and the Maserati starts to accelerate slightly.
All right, I've got it. I can call it eastbound 62nd.
He's starting to accelerate more.
Cruisers back off.
And this is what they do. They tell the cruisers. I'm going to go ahead and pause this real quick. I'm talking over the video for those who can't see it. But the cruiser, the helicopter tells, or whomever it is, tells the cruisers to back off, which they immediately did. And I think in any high-speed pursuit like this, you let the criminal go. You've got their description. You've got what kind of car they're in. Catch them later, but don't put anybody in danger. The cruisers immediately back off, but then what happens after that is you got teenagers in a Maserati. So what they do is decide to accelerate and try to get away even more, and this is what happens. Extremely high rate of speed.
Man, he's still blacked out, passing 12th Street. I know we're on Bravo, so if we can get some of these. Oh, and he's going to lose it right here. He's crashing 62nd, and it's going to be just shy of 10th Street on the south side of the road.
What happens is what happens in a car when you go that fast and you try to accelerate to those kind of speeds. He gets airborne and just loses it, hits a curb, flips upside down, hits a light or a sign out in front of a store, and then lands on the top of the car. For those of you who are watching this, I'll scroll down so you can see the pictures here of the vehicle afterwards. There's what the car looked like afterwards. The passenger in the right in the car was killed, and the other 2 were taken to the hospital for extreme life-threatening injuries, of course, because 123 miles an hour smacking into a sign like that. The car is bent. For those who can't see this, the car is on its roof, but it is bent in the middle, like almost like a horseshoe. And you can just tell. I mean, the passenger was unfortunately lost his life. But these guys decide to steal this car. And, since we were talking about driving and road rage and stuff, I thought it would be appropriate to bring that up. However, I mean, just it's devastating to see something like this. I mean, it was Joe Walsh, right? My Maserati just 185. I lost my license. Now I don't drive. But they said that they were trying to shake the police. They dropped the cruisers dropped to as low as 35 miles an hour, but the Maserati accelerates, of course. And Mario Bonilla, a 15-year-old riding in the front passenger seat, died. 15 years old. The driver, 16-year-old Malachi Daniels, or driver, somebody with the last name Lang, and then somebody in the back seat named Malachi Daniels, were 16. And, wow. Just a 15-year-old died, 2 16-year-olds in critical condition in the hospital. Absolutely crazy. That's why.
And the one thought that keeps coming to my brain, and we talked about this a little bit before Erica got on this morning. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was driving around, and I was thinking about that story. And I kept thinking to myself, the last thing that this kid was involved in was a sinful nature. And he stepped out into eternity. Yeah. You know, I mean, he's gone. He doesn't have any. It breaks my heart because I think about things like that when I see people lose their life, or when I see tragedy, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. You know, I'll never forget the night that they broadcast the hanging of Saddam Hussein, And I was all excited, and then all of a sudden I thought, he just stepped out into eternity, and his soul's lost.
Well, I mean, like
it messes with you. That's just heavy. That's just so heavy.
Yeah, I mean, like I do that in movies as well. Like I'm watching movies, and like they'll get up to leave a room, and I'll be like, you left your pack of cigarettes right there. You need to get your cigarettes, or they'll leave their door open. I'm like, hey, you left that door open. I always think about that stuff, but the big thing I think about it are those situations like where somebody's just walking down the street. Like we were, my oldest daughter, she likes true crime stuff. We were watching some true crime stuff last night, and they were talking about in Phoenix, Arizona. Back, I think it was the early 2000s, where there were these two guys that were driving around in a car and just rolling up to people that were walking on the side of the road, just walking, minding their own business, walking dogs, walking home from dates, whatever it was. They pull out a shotgun and just shoot. And it was, sometimes they killed them, sometimes they didn't, but they killed up to 5 people before they were busted. You just think about that. You're like, I'm going to go out, walk my dog. I'm going to go out and do something just nominal, just a regular, stroll in the park or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're dead. You think about that, it really does mess with you, because you don't want those situations or circumstances where somebody crosses into eternity without ever hearing the gospel, which is why you really shouldn't flip people off, because then they might.
I was gonna say, I could learn from Brian is what I should probably say right there, because in my head, my immediate reaction, it's the same point as what makes you think it's okay to flip the bird in the first place. What made you think it was okay to steal a car?
Yeah.
What made you think? And if that is the end result, unlike Brian, see, this is why I'm probably going to end up in the same place as the person that stole the car, because unlike Brian, I'm like, yeah, what did you think was going to happen? I don't know. Remorse. I don't feel the remorse that he does for that, but I should.
Well, I think it kind of it balances itself out, because I was having a conversation with somebody that's in corrections, and I was talking about how I'm just starting to get into prison ministry, and I'm like, and I was acting all trying to be all gracious and nice. I was like, those guys behind bars, they just they need a connection. They need to know somebody cares. They need to know somebody, is out there for them and can share the gospel with them. And he was like, yeah, but you think about that, but what about the victims? He's like, what about the ministry to the victims of the people that those criminals hurt? Why are they behind bars? And why aren't the churches focused on helping them more than helping the people in jail? And I was like, holy crap, dude, you're right. Like, why? Right, because, almost it seems like, and I'm not bashing you at all, Brian, because again, I think about this stuff too. So don't think I'm just trying to, bag on you or anything like that. But you think about it, it's like, we focus an awful lot on the perpetrators, because, like, oh man, they're behind bars. The 24 Faces of Billy Milligan, I think, is what brought the dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality disorder to the forefront, because they discovered that this guy, after he had raped several women, had multiple personality disorder, which I don't really believe is a thing. And throughout this process, everybody kept focusing on him. We've got to reform him. We've got to make him, we've got to give him freedom. We've got to get him acclimated back to society. And I was watching this show the other night with my daughter, and I was like, what about the rape victims? Right. What about the fact that those women were raped? We're worried about fixing this guy because we think he's some kind of medical anomaly. But what about all the ladies that he's injured that will never be able to walk in the dark by themselves again, who will always remember that violation, that will always remember that some guy raped them, and then the media, instead of helping them, and the churches and the nonprofit groups and the psychiatrists, instead of helping them, they're focused more on this guy that could give them some kind of a Nobel Prize or something like that. So, I don't think it's bad to focus on the fact that these kids stole this car and they knew what they were doing and it was wrong. Because that is a deterrent to those people. Like, hey, look what you could do. It's a pretty stupid idea.
Well, I think the answer to that is being able to minister at all times, right? So as a Christian, we're called to be able to give an account for the hope that's with us. That was in, I believe, it's 1 Peter. But the most important thing is being able to minister to whatever situation that you're in, right? So if you're presented with an opportunity to minister to those that are the perpetrators or the convicts or whatever, obviously you need to minister to them too.
Yeah.
But then when you get a chance to minister to the victims, minister to the victims as well. I think ministry should be all around us, not just in. And when I say I think about this, I'd be lying to you if I said that I felt sorry for these kids. I don't necessarily feel sorry for what happened, because they got into a car, they knew it was wrong. You can't tell me that anybody didn't know that getting into a stolen Maserati was wrong. I don't buy that. So they knew it was wrong. They made a decision to break the law, and they paid a consequence for it.
Yep.
Right. But at the same time, the Christian part of me or my heart looks at that and goes, okay, they've stepped out into eternity. They did something stupid. They made a decision. They stepped out into eternity. There is no change for that. Yeah. Once you stop breathing, there is the judgment. That's it.
Now, we do have a question here in the chat that I'm going to throw at you, Brian, because where did the chat go here? You can also join the chat by going to facebook.com. It's on my personal page there. You can request to be my friend. I pretty much accept anybody, especially Nigerian princes, because I'm looking for opportunities to expand the ministry. So don't forget that. Well, I'm open for conversations, etc. This is Mark in the chat, and I'm talking like this with my cadence so I can. There it is. What if the young man who died was previously saved? Is his soul lost just because he was a passenger?
I can't answer that question.
I can.
I looked at that. I have a different take on things. I do agree to some degree with eternal security.
You can't agree to some degree with eternal security and not agree with the whole thing.
Well, okay, so
I agree to
right now. If a man is actively walking in a sinful lifestyle and he has no fruits of repentance, then I doubt very seriously he was ever saved to begin with.
Wrong. Did I say that out loud? Did you hear that? Was it?
You go ahead and say that. So you tell me the answer, Aaron, because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe that it's possible for a person to actively walk in a sinful lifestyle and not show fruits of repentance and still claim salvation.
What about David? It's the first person that pops into my head. King David, where, he was chilling out on
But he was constantly showing fruits of repentance. He was constantly repenting. He was constantly.
Now, when you say constantly showing fruit of repentance, so he saw Bathsheba, lusted after her, brought her to his house, had sex with her, so he committed adultery, and then when he finds out she's pregnant by him, he tries to get her husband Uriah back and have him have relations with her, so he would think it was her. So he's lying and deceiving. And then when he wouldn't, instead of fessing up to what he did, he sent a letter to have the armies pull back from Uriah and have him killed. So he committed murder. So lust, adultery, deception, murder. Now and then ultimately he did repent for that, yes. But during from the time that he lusted after her, by the way, there was also lust that was continuing for some time because he went out on his patio at a certain part of the day because he knew that's when Bathsheba was out, and all of that time, he was still a man after God's own heart. So did he lose his salvation? Did he lose his relationship with the Lord any time in that process, or was he always the same in his relationship?
I am not prepared to answer that question.
I'm going to answer it for you, because I also think about Peter as well. Because when Peter in the New Testament, when Jesus said, Peter, Satan has requested to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith will not fail, and when you are restored, you will minister to the brethren. That's what he told Peter. So that tells me that Peter, during his time, when he denied Christ 3 times, actively denying Jesus Christ when Christ was fulfilling the crucifixion, he was doing exactly what he came around the earth to do. And Peter was still denying him. I think Peter was in a backslidden state, quotey fingers, but I don't believe that his relationship with Christ ever failed, because what Jesus said, I've prayed for you that your faith will not fail. So if Christ is praying for us that our faith will not fail, then if a person is saved, theoretically, If a person is saved, is adopted into the family of God, they're sealed with the Holy Spirit, a la Ephesians chapter 1, chosen by God and carried out by Christ in the crucifixion, sealed by the Holy Spirit, which is the earnest of our redemption. If those steps are followed, if those spiritual things are done, then a person, regardless of the crime they commit or the sin that they're committing when they die, they're still going to go to heaven, because it's not your conduct that saves you. It is not what you do, it's what Christ has done. Now, that is not a license to sin, because I can hear the pages of all those folks out there saying, oh, well, what if you get saved just to do that? No, you're not getting saved. If you get saved, if you think you get saved, Quotey Fingers, just to live out whatever sins you want to carry out and do whatever it is you want to do, then I'm going to question that. But if someone who is genuinely saved, genuinely comes to Christ, absolutely nothing will be able to take you away from the hand of God. All right, folks, that's the first hour of the Breakdown right here. Stay with us as we continue on with Aaron, Erica, and Bryan right here on the Breakdown.